Hello again, and welcome back for more of Odinmade Hero. It's another beautiful day for learning from Casey Muratori's Handmade Hero, where he uh, shows you how to program a game from scratch in C and C++, while I try and do the same, but in Odin. And yesterday we worked on adding this new collision rule type to our game state so that we could keep track of all of the collision rules as they are happening during these updates to the game state's entities. And I just realized my light is not plugged in. It usually can't last. Come on now. Usually that thing doesn't last a whole stream if it's not plugged in. And I don't want to be looking like I'm just in here in the dark all day, even though it's basically what I am. We light me up for the stream so that it doesn't look so sad in here. But yeah, so yesterday we worked on adding this notion of keeping track of the collision rules to our game so that we could have this projectile, rock, sword, whatever we're calling it, behave the way that Casey wanted it to behave, which is that it passes through this monster here and does 1 unit of damage to the monster until the point where it should be dead at this point. It should be a destroyed monster at this point, right? But it's still hanging around, and so I think we might add the logic today to wipe it off of the screen and essentially either make it non-spatial or something to that effect, or maybe add like a dead flag to it. I'm not really sure how he wants to handle that, or if that's actually what we're going to do. I think today is going to be mostly a whiteboarding or a blackboarding session and some discussion about some of the things that we're going to move towards from this point, because we spent a lot of time on the entity system and a little bit of laying the bones for how some of the game logic is going to work with this collision rule stuff. And there's still some to-dos in the code for me to look at replacing this, which is just a fixed width array, but we're indexing into it like a hash, and then we have this next pointer to it, where if the rule does not live on that particular index, we keep going until we find it. But I think we can get rid of this, or at least pare it down and just use one of Odin's maps. But I'm not going to do that right now because we're just going to see where Casey thinks things should go. I think it's going to be an easy, pretty much relatively low coding day, and I think I'm fine with that because the past few weeks have been kind of gruesome with the amount of code that's been massaged and changed to add in the simulation region change, and just keeping up with that and kind of going through some learning curve, not just with that, but with trying to figure out the right way to do things in Odin, because we had that slowdown glitch earlier this week that I was able to kind of diagnose, even though I'm still not completely sure why that was happening the way it was happening. We've got a workaround that does memory management in the way that we want to, and that was good enough for me. So I'm just going to let Casey kind of kick things off, and we'll start jotting down more and more notes about what we want to add over time. How much of this Casey actually gets to in the end, I'm not sure. I know he does quite a bit of it, but I don't know if he ever actually comes back to keep that list up to date. It's just a way of like throwing things on the screen to see all of the stuff that's left for us to tackle, and then from that point on, just seeing where we go, which he talks about doing animation a lot, but I don't think I ever got to doing any animation when I was working on this project in the Zig programming language. So I don't think we're going to do animation anytime soon, but I know we're going to spend a lot of time building out the software renderer before ultimately basically just preparing ourselves to know all the things that we need to go and implement using OpenGL. And then if my ambition is not too ambitious, we'll also do some of that with Vulkan eventually, which I think will be a really good experience for me translating things over. Although Casey, if he were here and talking to me in person right now, he might say, don't do that. Don't touch Vulkan. You're a sick person for trying to do something like that. And I might say back to you, yeah, I am a sick person, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that, because for me, it's like Vulkan kind of is supposed to be the future, and for better or worse. And I think even if Vulkan isn't something that I want to use full time, I think it behooves me to understand how Vulkan tries to solve the problem of graphics programming and building renderers, and be able to compare and contrast that with something like OpenGL,